Hello, ladies and germs. I have a doozy of a story for you guys. So, the director of subscriptions at Ubisoft, Philippe Tremblay, he did a interview with GamesIndustry.biz about the digital future and more so specifically Ubisoft Plus. And what he said in this interview was that gamers need to get comfortable not owning their games. And he likened this to the general masses not owning CDs or DVDs, just music and movies and TV shows as physical things. There is quite a lot to unpack. However, I'm just going to sum all of this up with a simple two-letter word. No. I say no because, for one, as someone who grew up in a time, dating myself here, I was born in the 90s, so I'm not that old, but as someone who grew up during a time where you had a physical copy of whatever, that's amazing. Like, it's a video game. You literally have a physical copy of code that you can share with friends. Better hope they don't break the disc. Same thing with music. Same thing with movies and TV shows. Having a physical copy of that stuff is amazing, and it's easy to share. Now that everything's digital, it's difficult to share because, unfortunately, as we've all gotten older, and we should have listened to our parents and grandparents and great-grandparents when they said that the only thing that these companies want from you is your money. It sucks having to grow up and just live that reality. But yeah, gamers need to get comfortable not owning their games. That's crazy. Now, there are good things to this, sure. If games are all solely on a subscription, based platform or whatever, it gives the individual the time, or really just try out a new type of game or the same type of genre but different story. Maybe the developers did this, did that. Like, they could just try it out that way. The main downside to that, though, just like Netflix, just like Amazon Video Prime or Prime Video, whatever they call it, HBO, just like all of these digital, unless it's Disney Plus, you just gotta wait for them to add stuff. But I digress. Getting sidetracked. The bad thing about this is that at some point there's gonna be someone in another industry. Maybe that game has music, and that artist wants their money. Or simply the fact that, like, okay, at the whim of the developer / publisher, they decided that they don't want the game up there anymore and they're going to replace it with something else. You run into the whole thing of that thing just disappearing. If you have it just sitting in your wish list or just a library of games that you aren't going to play or you will at some point but don't know when, every Steam player's dilemma, it'll just be gone. At least with Steam, when you buy it and it disappears, it's still in your library and you can just play it whenever. But if you haven't bought it yet, it's gone. Those are the main two things, that it'll just disappear at the whim of the developer / publisher, or like all the songs in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, like some recent games have been taken down, like the original Alan Wake and The Crew. It'll just cease to exist unless you have someone like the good folks over at Remedy who'll make a remaster of that game. But depending on how their finances are, they may not want to make a remake or remaster of that game. So you're just kind of out of luck, buddy. Should have bought it when it was on sale the month before. It just evaporated into the digital ether. But no, gamers are not gonna just lie down and take this. You saw what happened with the whole loot box thing. Like, create enough of a hoopla, and eventually they'll just back down. That's what I don't really like, his comparison to the whole CD and DVD collection, because the CDs and the music industry and the I won't say the entertainment, but the movie and TV show industry, like, that was a slow transition. Like, over time, it was a slow transition. Like, Netflix, yes, Netflix put Blockbuster and Family Video out of business, but at the same time, they compensated by making Breaking Bad and having the entirety of The Office and Friends on their platform. And then they decided that they didn't want to have Friends or The Office on their platform anymore, but they still had those numbers of everyone wanting to watch the Breaking Bad. At any point, that stuff can just be gone. And it's sad, because if I don't have a physical copy, and he mentions that, physical copies are not, a good thing, but they are a good thing. That's how you preserve a video game. Yes, if it's a disc, yes, you have to take care of that disc, make sure it doesn't get scratches, doesn't get gunk on it. But you need to allow, like, if someone, like, no one's just gonna just continue to make different profiles just to sign someone up. Like, that's why Netflix, that's exactly why Netflix got rid of the whole password sharing thing. But for games, no one's gonna do that. It's like, oh yeah, you can play this game, but don't mess with my save. It's going to go back to that whole issue, and that's just something that's going to be around for a long time. He says that he understands the gamer's perspective when it comes to owning games, but then he claims that services like Ubisoft Plus will allow them to access their games when they feel like. I do that already. That's why I have a massive Steam library. That's why, I don't know, freaking Asmongold has a massive Steam library. Who knows how many games he has that he hasn't touched? He can get to those games whenever he feels like it. That's the whole point of having a digital library, because we own that copy, that digital code, that we own that. But if we don't own it, we can't access it. And he was saying that, like, oh, people don't need to worry that you lose your progress. It's not that I'm worried about losing my progress. It's just simply the fact that I'm worried about losing access to the game as a whole, just because I didn't get to it within a specific window. As good as Game Pass is, that's why, they're getting rid of games, because they also realize that the developers and publishers for those games need their money too. They can't just keep getting residuals. I mean, that's what microtransactions are for. That's what those shark cards are for. This feels like it's a games as a service 2.0 or 1.5 or whatever you want to call it. They'll put out a half-baked game, and then because people dumped eventually we'll get to a point where it's $80. They dumped $70 on this game. They're gonna just sit back, let that roll in. Then once people start complaining that the game is broken and not finished and there's glitches all over the place, then they'll actually put together, oh yeah, maybe we should fix this. It's crazy. And him saying this had blessed the guys over at Larian Games, but this prompted Sven Venk of Larian Games to say that any of the games that they make will not be on a subscription service, because they took, just using Baldur's Gate 3 as an example, and why it won Game of the Year. They took their time creating something that they knew people were going to enjoy. That they knew that, oh, I'm going to find all this secret stuff that I haven't seen or anyone has seen, hopefully no one's seen, and then share it online with other people. That's the whole point. You're creating, like, yes, Baldur's Gate, it may have its glitches and whatnot, but altogether it is a solid game. It is peak gaming. Yes, all the blood, sweat, and tears that Larian Game Studios has put into it, it made this amazing thing, this near perfect experience. But people like Philippe, Ubisoft, at people like Ubisoft, EA, Activision, Blizzard, they're just, at the end of the day, they're just worried about making a quick buck. And that's how they've run their business. And they've been more egregious about it lately just because, oh, just digital monies. But that's how you take the enjoyment out of stuff. That's how you take the love and the care out of anything that people love to do for a hobby. And you just suck the life out of it. It's a limpy, shriveled up thing on the floor, and you continue to beat it senseless, expecting, well, and they continue to beat it senseless, expecting, more and more billions and billions of dollars, and all they're really getting in the long run is just pennies. And we all know how worthless the penny is.
What in fuck's name are you doing? Oh!